Today we're going to look at a simple approach for dealing with minor 7 flat 5 chords. This is a topic that may be confusing for some of you. It certainly was for me at one point. And if you don't play much jazz or R&B, you may not come across these chords very often. But today I'm going to show you a cool little chord progression that uses a minor 7 flat 5 chord, and we'll look at some simple approaches for playing over the changes. Let's get into it. So a minor 7 flat 5 chord is exactly what it says it is. It's a minor chord with a flatted 5th and a flatted 7th. Here's two very common voicings for a B minor 7 flat 5 chord. Now this chord is found naturally in the key of C major. It's actually the 7th chord in the C major family of chords. These are the chords built from the C major scale. And every note in this B minor 7 flat 5 chord can be found within the C major scale. So we can play that scale over this chord and it works perfectly. So here's an example. I'm going to play a vamp going from a B minor 7 flat 5 chord up to a C major 7 chord. And over top, I'm going to play out of the C major scale, and you can hear how it works equally well over both chords. So now let's look at a chord progression that uses this B minor 7 flat 5 chord. This is actually going to start out with what's called a minor 2-5-1. I'm going to play the chords down along with the backing track, and I'll put the chord names up on the screen as we go. So now that we've put this minor 7 flat 5 chord in the context of a chord progression, let's hear how it sounds when we play lines out of the C major scale over top. So everything I played in that example was straight out of the C major scale, and it sounds pretty good even when playing the scale in sort of a linear way like that. But let's look at this chord and this scale a different way, right? I've always thought of a B minor 7 flat 5 chord as being a D minor 6 chord. In fact, if we look at this voicing, we can see that there's a D minor triad right within the voicing, right? Just like this D minor bar chord. And when we add B to it, we get a D minor 6 chord, right? We could also voice this like this, right? That's a D minor with a B in it. Now the scale you would play over this chord would be a D minor scale with a raised 6, or a D Dorian scale. Now you might be thinking, aren't D Dorian and C major the same scale? They share the exact same notes. And while that's true, I've always found that thinking of this as a part of a D minor sound and thinking this D Dorian scale gets you better results than thinking of C major. Right, so I'm going to play along to the backing track one more time, and this time I'm going to lean more heavily on this D minor 6 sound, specifically this D minor triad, right? And you'll hear what I'm talking about. Now there's obviously tons more to unpack with this chord progression and with minor 2-5-1s. You can head over to my Patreon site. The link is down in the description. I'm going to throw up an additional lesson diving deeper into this chord progression. You can also find all my tabs and notation and backing tracks for this lesson and all my other lessons there. But that does it for today. Until next time, happy practicing and take care.